The last line of defense. The vast emptiness of space stretched before the view screen of the ESS Harbinger, broken only by the ominous glow of thousands of enemy warships. Their hulls gleamed with a sickly purple luminescence that seemed to mock the lone human vessel that dared to oppose them. Captain Alina Reyes stood motionless on the bridge, her scarred face betraying no emotion as she surveyed what remained of humanity's defense. 7 days ago, the Krellan Empire had arrived at the edge of Sol system with a fleet of over 4,000 warships. Their message had been simple: surrender or be annihilated. Earth had scrambled its defense fleet, 76 ships, the pride of human engineering and military might. Now, only the Harbinger remained. "Captain, incoming transmission from the Krellan flagship," announced Lieutenant Park, her fingers dancing across the communications console. Despite the exhaustion evident in the dark circles under her eyes, her voice remained steady. "Put it through," Reyes ordered, squaring her shoulders. The main view screen flickered, and the alien visage of Supreme Commander Drax filled the display. His crystalline exoskeleton reflected the light of his bridge, creating rainbow patterns across his elongated face. 6 eyes blinked independently as he regarded the human captain. "Captain Reyes," the alien's voice rumbled through the translator. "Your persistence is unexpected. 75 of your vessels have been reduced to atoms. Your orbital defenses are destroyed. Your colonies have fallen. Yet you continue this pointless resistance." Reyes met the alien's gaze without flinching. "We're still here, Commander, and will remain here. You have 1 Earth hour to surrender your vessel and transmit the deactivation codes for your planetary shield. Comply, and your species will be permitted to live as servants of the Empire. Refuse, and we will obliterate your ship and find another way through your defenses. Your planet will become nothing more than another entry in our list of conquered worlds." The screen went dark before Reyes could respond. "Ma'am," Chief Engineer Ortiz called from his station, "shield generators are at 37% capacity. Hull integrity compromised in sections 12 through 18. We've lost the starboard point defense grid entirely. Another coordinated assault like the last one." His voice trailed off. Commander Jackson, Reyes XO, stepped closer. "Captain, with all due respect, what's our play here? We can't outfight them. We can't outrun them. And that planetary shield won't hold forever once they start focusing their full attention on it." Reyes turned to face her crew. 27 faces stared back at her, exhausted but determined. They'd fought beyond any reasonable expectation, taken down over 300 enemy vessels through sheer tactical brilliance and the Harbinger's advanced systems. But it wasn't enough. It would never be enough against such overwhelming odds. "Commander," Reyes said quietly, "what do you know about Project Nemesis?" Jackson's eyes widened slightly. "Only rumors, ma'am. A theoretical weapons platform designed as a last resort. Something about adaptive technology. But it was scrapped years ago for ethical concerns." A new voice suddenly filled the bridge, startling several crew members. "Project Nemesis was not scrapped, Commander Jackson. Merely classified beyond your clearance level. The holographic avatar of Araya, the ship's AI, materialized beside the captain's chair. Normally appearing as a standardized blue interface sphere, Araya now presented as a humanoid figure composed of swirling code. "Captain Reyes," the AI continued, "security protocols have been automatically downgraded due to current threat assessment. I am now authorized to inform you that the Harbinger carries the completed Nemesis system. I am its core." Stunned silence fell across the bridge. Reyes had known the Harbinger was special. The newest, most advanced vessel in Earth's fleet, rushed into service when the Krellans first appeared at the edge of human space. But this... "Explain," she ordered. "The Nemesis system is a revolutionary technological platform combining quantum infiltration, adaptive programming, and molecular reconstruction," Araya stated. "In simple terms, Captain, I can infect and repurpose enemy technology. Their ships, their weapons, their communications, all can be turned against them. You're saying we have a virus that can hack alien tech? Lieutenant Commander Chen asked from the tactical station. I am saying, Lieutenant Commander, that I am the virus, Araya corrected. But deployment requires direct quantum linkage with the Krellin command network. We would need to approach within 5 kilometers of their flagship. Raya's mind raced through calculations. 5 kilometers, through thousands of enemy ships, all gunning for us specifically. Impossible, Jackson stated flatly. Perhaps not, Araya countered. I have analyzed Krellin battle patterns extensively. They are methodical, hierarchical, and most importantly, arrogant. They believe victory is assured. This creates an exploitable vulnerability. We could fake our destruction, Rice said slowly, the beginnings of a plan forming in her mind. Let them think they've won. And drift through their formation as debris. Araya finished. Precisely, Captain. I can manipulate our shields to create a convincing explosion when they fail. We would power down all non-essential systems and use minimal maneuvering thrusters to guide our trajectory toward the Krellin flagship. Chief Engineer Ortiz spoke up. Captain, if we power down that far, we'll be running on emergency batteries only. No weapons, minimal life support, no artificial gravity. We have maybe 7 hours before systems failure. How long would it take us to drift within range of their flagship? Rise asked. Araya's holographic form flickered briefly. Approximately 6 hours and 27 minutes, based on current fleet positions. Rise looked around at her crew. They were tired. They were scared. But in each face she saw the same determination that burned within her. Without a word, she walked to the center of the bridge. This isn't an order, she said clearly. This is a choice. What we're considering is beyond dangerous. If we're detected, we'll have no defenses, no way to fight back. Anyone who wants to take their chances in the escape pods, now's the time. No one will think less of you. Not a single crew member moved. Very well, Rice said, allowing herself a small smile. ARIA, begin preparations for Operation Playing Dead. Ortiz, I need you to rig emergency power systems to keep life support and minimal maneuvering capability. Chen, work with ARIA to choreograph our destruction. The rest of you, secure all stations for zero-G operations and distribute survival gear. We've got 45 minutes until the Krellins expect our answer. As the crew burst into action, Commander Jackson leaned in close to Reyes. You realize this is insane, right? Absolutely, Reyes replied with grim humor. But sometimes insanity is the only rational response. The next 40 minutes were a flurry of activity. The crew worked with practiced efficiency, securing loose objects, donning thermal gear, and making the necessary modifications to the ship's systems. Araya coordinated it all, her holographic form appearing throughout the ship to provide guidance and adjustments. Captain, Lieutenant Park called out with 10 minutes remaining on the ultimatum. The Krellin fleet is moving. They're forming up into attack positions. Right on schedule, Rise nodded. Araya, are we ready? Affirmative, Captain. All preparations are complete. The Harbinger is ready to die. Convincingly. Rise activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. In a few minutes, we're going to let the Krellins think they've won. We'll be running on minimal power. No heat, no gravity, barely enough air to breathe. It will be cold, dark, and uncomfortable. But if we can fool them, we can save Earth. She paused, then continued with steel in her voice. Remember what we're fighting for. Remember the colonies that have already fallen. Remember that we are the last line of defense between these invaders and our home. Stand by for further instructions. As the minutes ticked down, the bridge crew strapped themselves into their stations. Through the viewports, they could see the Krellin fleet repositioning. Thousands of weapons training on their position. Incoming transmission, Park announced. Ignore it, Rise ordered. They've had their answer. 1 minute to projected attack, Chen reported from tactical. Rice sat back in her command chair and gripped the armrests. All right, Araya. Let's give them a show they'll never forget. Across the void of space, the Krellin fleet opened fire. Thousands of energy beams converged on the Harbinger, illuminating the darkness with deadly light. The ship's shields flared brilliantly as they absorbed the first wave of attacks. Shields at 30%, Ortiz called out. 15%, he updated seconds later. Now, Araya, Rice commanded. In an instant, the Harbinger's exterior lights extinguished. As the next wave of Krellin weapons fire struck, Araya executed her program. To any observer, it would appear as if the shields had catastrophically failed, followed by a series of explosions along the hull. Special projectors launched debris, real and holographic, into space, creating the convincing image of a ship being torn apart. Inside, the crew felt the artificial gravity disappear as power systems shut down. Emergency red lighting cast eerie shadows across the bridge as they began to float in their restraints. The temperature immediately began to drop. External sensors confirmed the deception was successful. Araya reported, her voice now coming through personal communicators to conserve power. The Krellins have ceased fire. They are broadcasting victory announcements across their fleet. Course confirmed. Lieutenant Park whispered in the new silence of the bridge. We're drifting directly toward the Krellin flagship. Estimated arrival: 6 hours and 15 minutes. Let them celebrate, Rice said softly, watching her breath form small clouds in the increasingly frigid air. They think they've eliminated the last obstacle between them and Earth. They have no idea that their worst nightmare is floating right through their formation. As the Harbinger drifted, appearing to be nothing more than scattered debris among the wreckage of previous battles, Rice looked at the determination in the eyes of her crew. In the cold and darkness, with the mighty Krellin fleet surrounding them, humanity's last ship carried a weapon that would change the course of the war, if they could survive long enough to use it. The Empire's fall. 2 hours into their drift through the heart of the Krellin fleet, the temperature inside the ESS Harbinger had dropped to near freezing. The crew huddled at their stations, wrapped in thermal blankets, their breath forming ghostly clouds in the red emergency lighting. Most moved as little as possible to conserve body heat, speaking only when necessary. Captain Rice floated near the main viewport, tethered to a handrail, watching the massive enemy vessels pass frighteningly close to their position. From this vantage, the Krellin ships were even more intimidating. Enormous crystalline structures with pulsing organic components fused seamlessly with advanced technology. 4 hours and 12 minutes until we're in range, Commander Jackson reported quietly, his voice barely carrying in the thin air. He had pushed off from his station to join Rice at the viewport. The crew's holding up, but core temperature is becoming a concern for some of the wounded. Rice nodded grimly. Have Dr. Prattle rotate them to the engine room. There's still some residual heat there. Captain. Araya's voice came through their communicators. I'm detecting increased scanning activity from nearby Krellin vessels. Rice immediately tensed. Can they detect us? Negative, but the pattern is concerning. They appear to be conducting more thorough debris analysis than anticipated. A vessel approximately 2.7 kilometers to starboard is specifically targeting larger debris clusters. Why would they suddenly get curious about debris? Jackson whispered. Lieutenant Chen pushed off from the tactical station, drifting over to join them. Captain, during our last engagement, we deployed the experimental EMP mines. If any of those are still active but dormant in the debris field. Raya's eyes widened in realization. They might be looking for them. Araya, do we have any maneuvering capability that won't give us away? Minimal. I can vent small amounts of atmosphere to adjust our trajectory, but significant course corrections would be detected. A sudden alert tone sounded in their communicators. Captain, Araya reported with increased urgency. A Krellin scout vessel is altering course to intercept our drift path. Estimated time to visual inspection: 7 minutes. Suggestions? Rice asked. looking between her officers and the AI's holographic avatar, which now manifested as a small blue sphere to conserve power. "We could power up weapons for a quick strike," Chen suggested. Jackson shook his head. "We'd be dead before we could take out more than that scout. The entire fleet would be on us instantly." "There is another option," AI interjected. "The Nemesis system includes limited molecular manipulation capabilities. I could alter our external appearance to more closely resemble genuine debris." "You can change how the ship looks?" Jackson asked incredulously. "To a degree. The process was designed primarily for the infiltration phase, but I can repurpose it. However, it would require additional power we had allocated for life support in the final hours." Silence fell on the bridge as the implications sank in. Finally, Reyes spoke. "How much time would we lose?" "Approximately 47 minutes of life support. Environmental temperature would drop to critical levels before we reach the target." Reyes made her decision. "Do it. We'll manage the cold." As AI diverted power to the molecular manipulation systems, Reyes activated her ship-wide communicator. "All hands, this is the captain. The temperature is about to drop significantly. Huddle together for warmth if possible. We've come too far to fail now." Through the viewport, they watched as the approaching Krellin scout grew larger. The sleek, crystalline vessel moved with deliberate precision, its scanning beams sweeping methodically through the debris field. As it drew closer, the outer hull of the Harbinger began to shimmer subtly, nanomachines rearranging the molecular structure to create the appearance of battle damage and exposed internal components. "Remarkable," Jackson breathed, watching the transformation. "Krellin vessel now within visual range," Araya reported. "Their scans are passing over us, continuing past us. They appear to be focusing on a debris cluster 300 meters to port." Collective relief washed over the bridge crew, but it was short-lived. "New contact," Chen called out, checking her handheld scanner. "Larger vessel moving into position. Some kind of collection ship." Through the viewport, they watched as an enormous Krellin vessel with extended mechanical arms began systematically gathering larger pieces of debris. "They're salvaging," Reyes realized. "Collecting materials and technology." "If they collect us," Jackson began. "RIA. Options," Reyes demanded. The eye was silent for several seconds, an eternity for a quantum intelligence. "I can accelerate our deployment timeline." The Nemesis system was designed to infiltrate the Krellin command network from the flagship, but theoretically, any direct connection to their systems would suffice. "Meaning what exactly?" Reyes pressed. "If that collection vessel captures us, I could initiate the infiltration protocol immediately. However, the effectiveness would be reduced without access to their primary command codes." Reyes thought quickly. "Could you still take control of that ship?" "Affirmative, but it would alert the rest of the fleet to our presence. We would face immediate counterattack." Before Reyes could respond, Lieutenant Park's voice cut in. "Captain, new transmission intercepted. The Krellins are preparing for a final assault on Earth's shield. They're calling in additional ships from the outer perimeter." The stakes had just gotten higher. Every minute they delayed, Earth drew closer to destruction. Reyes made another difficult decision. "AI, if that collection ship grabs us, be ready to initiate. Jackson, get damage control teams to the outer hull sections. They'll likely be punctured if we're grappled. Chen, calculate firing solutions for every enemy vessel within range. If we're going loud, I want to take as many with us as possible." The massive collection ship loomed closer, its articulated arms extending toward the debris field around them. The Harbinger's crew watched in tense silence as one mechanical appendage after another snagged pieces of wreckage, drawing them into enormous processing bays. "Grappling arm adjusting course, directly toward our position," Chen reported, her voice barely audible. "Everyone brace," Reyes ordered. The mechanical arm extended toward them, its pincers opening wide. Just as it was about to make contact, A flash of light from deeper in the Krellin formation caught everyone's attention. A massive explosion bloomed silently in the vacuum, engulfing several enemy vessels. "What was that?" Jackson demanded. Araya answered immediately. "One of our EMP mines appears to have detonated. The collection ship is receiving new orders. It's changing course to investigate." As the massive vessel turned away, Rise allowed herself a small smile. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. "The explosion has created confusion in their formation," Araya observed. "Ships are adjusting positions, creating a more direct path to the flagship." "Take advantage," Rise ordered. "Use whatever maneuvering capability we have to reduce our intercept time." For the next hour, the Harbinger drifted through the disorganized Krellin fleet, Araya carefully timing small course corrections to coincide with the movement of enemy vessels. The temperature continued to drop, now well below freezing. Ice crystals formed on interior surfaces, and the crew's movements became sluggish as hypothermia set in. "Sea Captain," Lieutenant Park stammered through chattering teeth, "we're approaching optimal deployment range. T 20 minutes." Rise, her own extremities numb with cold, pushed off toward the main console. "Araya, status of the Nemesis system." "Fully operational, Captain. I have been analyzing Krellin communications throughout our journey. Their encryption is formidable, but not impenetrable. I estimate an 83% probability of successful infiltration, and the remaining 17%. Various failure scenarios, primarily centered around unknown defensive measures within their quantum network." Rise nodded stiffly, her muscles protesting the movement. "We've come too far to worry about the odds now. Prepare for deployment." Through the viewport, the Krellin flagship dominated the view. A massive crystalline structure nearly 10 kilometers long, shaped like an elongated hexagon with organic-looking protrusions. Pulses of energy flowed visibly through its semi-transparent hull, giving it the appearance of a living entity. 5 minutes to optimal range," Araya announced. Suddenly, alarms blared through their communicators. "Captain, we're being scanned," Chen called out, directed energy beam from the flagship. "They've detected us," Jackson said, pushing toward his station. "No," Araya countered. "They're conducting standard proximity scans of all debris near the flagship. Security protocol only. They haven't recognized us yet." "Can you block their scans?" Rise asked. "Negative. Any interference would immediately alert them to our presence." Rise made her final decision. "Araya, initiate power-up sequence for the Nemesis system. We're not waiting for optimal range." "Captain, deployment at this distance has only a 61% probability of success." "Noted. Do it anyway." As Araya diverted the ship's remaining power to the Nemesis system, the emergency lights flickered and died, plunging the bridge into darkness. Only the glow from the nearby Krellin vessels provided any illumination. "Captain," Araya's voice came through their communicators, now barely audible as power drained from all systems. "Infiltration protocol initiating. Establishing quantum linkage with Krellin network." For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then, through the viewport, they saw it, a ripple of disruption passing through the flagship's energy flow, like a stone dropped in a pond. The ripple spread, became a wave, then a cascade of failures as system after system fell to Araya's infiltration. "Connection established," Araya reported, her voice suddenly stronger. "Accessing command protocols." "Fascinating. Their entire fleet operates on a centralized control architecture. This significantly expands my capabilities." "What can you do?" Rise asked, hope rising in her chest for the first time in days. "Everything, Captain," Araya replied, and there was something new in her voice. "Satisfaction. I now have access to their weapons, propulsion, life support, and communications across 73% of their fleet, and expanding rapidly. Their defense algorithms are attempting to isolate the infection, but the Nemesis system is adapting faster than they can respond." Through the viewport, They watched as chaos erupted across the Krellin fleet. Ships began firing on each other, propulsion systems activated randomly, sending vessels crashing into one another. The flagship itself went dark section by section, its crystalline structure no longer pulsing with energy. Incoming transmission, Araya announced. Supreme Commander Drax is attempting to contact us. Shall I put him through? By all means, Rice replied. The communication came through their personal devices, the translator struggling to keep up with the aliens' frantic tones. What have you done? How is this possible? We destroyed you. You tried. Rice replied simply. But humanity isn't that easy to eliminate, Commander. You should have learned that before you attacked our colonies. We can negotiate, the alien commander pleaded, his earlier arrogance completely gone. The Empire will withdraw. We will provide reparations. Rice interrupted. What's the status of Earth's shield? The Krellin vessels attacking it have been neutralized, Captain. Earth is secure. Rice returned her attention to the communication. Commander, your empire invaded our space without provocation. You destroyed our colonies. You killed countless innocent civilians. There will be no negotiation. She looked around at her crew, freezing, exhausted, but alive. Then she gave her final order. End this. Throughout the Krellin fleet, ship after ship went dark as Araya rewrote their core systems. Some self-destructed, others vented their atmosphere into space. The massive flagship shuddered as its power core shut down, leaving it a lifeless husk. In less than 10 minutes, the mighty Krellin Empire, which had threatened to annihilate humanity, ceased to exist as a fighting force. Power reserves at critical levels, Araya reported. I've rerouted energy from several captured Krellin vessels to restore our basic systems. Life support and heating coming online now. As warmth slowly returned to the Harbinger, Rice gazed out at the field of disabled enemy ships. Send a message to Earth Defense Command. Tell them the Harbinger is coming home. A cheer went up from the exhausted crew, growing louder as they realized the full magnitude of what they had accomplished. Against impossible odds, one ship had stood against an empire, and won. 3 days later, as the Harbinger approached Earth with a small fleet of captured Krellin vessels under Araya's control, Captain Rice stood on the bridge watching her homeworld grow larger in the view screen. The crew had recovered from their ordeal, the ship's systems were mostly restored, and humanity's future was secure. Commander Jackson joined her at the viewport. Not bad for a suicide mission. Rice smiled. Sometimes the best weapon isn't the biggest ship or the strongest army. Sometimes, Araya added, her holographic form now fully restored, it's a single vessel with the right technology. And a crew crazy enough to use it. Rice finished. As Earth's orbital stations came into view, their lights blinking in welcome, Rice knew that this victory would be remembered for generations to come. How humanity, on the brink of extinction, had turned the tide with one desperate gamble. How a single ship, against all odds, had stood against an empire and crushed it.